In this video, we will take a look at logical operators in Python. Logical operators are used to combine multiple conditions together and evaluate them against a single Boolean expression. Logical operators are essential for controlling program flow, making decisions based on conditions, and combining multiple Boolean expressions in Python. Let's head over to PyScripter and take a look. Let's create a couple of variables. We will start with population and set that equal to 2500, and we will use area and we'll just set that to equal 100,000. We'll hit enter. Let's use our comparison operators less than and greater than. We'll say population less than 10,000. So our population is 2,500, so it is less than 10,000. So this expression here will return true. Now we're going to use our first logical operator. It is the AND operator. We simply type in AND. Now we want to check area greater than 50,000. So our equation on the left hand side of our AND returns true, and so does the equation on our right hand side of the AND. It also returns true. So when we hit enter, we are returned true. Let's change our expression slightly. Instead of population less than 10,000, let's say population greater than 10,000. Now we have a false and a true. We'll hit enter, and this time we're returned false. The logical operator AND only returns true if both operands are true. So the expression on the left side of the AND the expression on the right hand side of the AND must both equate to true for the entire expression to be true. We saw this in our first example. In our second example, we had one false, which means the entire expression returned false. Let's take a look at this a little simpler. We have true and true. This will return true. False and true will return false because one of them is false. And true and false will also return false because one of our operands is false. And just to finish up the example, false and false will also return false because only true and true will return true for the AND operator. Let's take a look at the logical OR operator. We'll create two lists, one called counties _1, we'll set this to equal our square brackets, and we'll put in Kildare, Carlow, Dublin and Meath. We'll enter, and now we'll create counties _2, and we'll set this to equal our square brackets, and we'll put in Clare, Sligo and Galway. We saw back in the list section that we could check for membership. Is Kildare in our counties 1 list? It is indeed, so this returns true. We now use the reserved keyword OR for our logical OR. Galway in counties 2. Now both of these are true. Kildare is in counties 1 and Galway is in counties 2. Kildare and Galway. When we hit enter, we are returned true. Let's try that again. This time we're going to replace Kildare and we're going to put in Galway again. Is Galway in counties 1? No, it is not. So this returns false. On the right hand side of our OR operator, we are returned a true. We hit enter, and we are still returned true. Our logical OR returns true if at least one operand is true. Let's change Galway to Cork. Now Galway is not in our first counties list and Cork is not in our second counties list. So when we hit enter, we expect false, and we are returned false. Let's take a look at that with simple booleans. We have true or true. which will of course return true. Both of our operands are true. We have true or false. What do you think will be returned here? Correct. True. Because at least one of our operands is true. We can have false or true. And again, this will return true because one of our operands are true. And false or false will of course return false because none of our operands are true. The last logical operator is not. Not negates a Boolean value. If we create a variable called result and set that equal to true, then we simply check not result, we get false. If we take a look up here where we got Galway in counties 1 or Cork in counties 2, that returned false. I'm going to copy that line of code. I'm going to type in not. I'm going to use parentheses, and inside those parentheses I'm going to paste in that expression. Now this returns false, but because we're negating it with not, it's going to return true. Let's head over to our workbook for a moment. Here we have what is known as a truth table, and we saw these combinations throughout this video. We have our variables a and b. If a is true and b is true, and we're using and, it will evaluate the true. If we're also using or, it will evaluate the true. It will evaluate the true because both operands are true. It will evaluate to or because at least one of the operands is true. If a is true and b is false, then a and b is false because both of the operands are not true. But a or b will return true because at least one of the operands is true. If a is false and b is true, then and is false because not both of the operands are true. A or b will return true because at least one of the operands is true. And lastly, we have a is false and b is false will of course return false for and because not all of the operands are true, and or will also return false because there is not a minimum of one operand that is true. In this video, we took a look at logical operators in Python. We saw that we could use and or to combine multiple conditions together and evaluate them as a single Boolean expression. We saw how we could use the comparison operators along with membership to create Boolean expressions and utilize our logical operators. The truth table is a handy way to get to grips with how logical operators work.